Drake walked into that courtroom with confidence. He thought he had control. He thought his fame and fortune would shield him. But within minutes, that illusion was shattered. The judge didn't just reject his arguments, he mocked them out. Loud, in front of everyone. Witnesses say Drake's face turned pale. His lawyers panicked. And UMG's legal team sat back with smirks of pure satisfaction. This wasn't just another legal battle. This was a public humiliation. For the first time in years, Drake wasn't the man holding the microphone. He wasn't the one in control of the narrative, he was the one being laughed at. And the judge's words, brutal. So brutal, insiders claim even Drake's own supporters in the room shifted uncomfortably in their seats. But the humiliation didn't end there. Because, just as Drake struggled to recover from the verbal beatdown, UMG launched their most vicious counterattack yet. Legal documents, fiery arguments, and a bombshell motion that could end Drake's case before it even begins. So how did it all spiral this quickly? What exactly did the judge say that left Drake speechless? And what weapon did UMG unleash that could destroy everything Drake has been fighting for? Stay with me because this story only gets darker. To truly understand how Drake ended up in this courtroom disaster, we need to rewind the clock. This wasn't some random case. This wasn't an isolated moment. This humiliation was years in the making. Drake's relationship with the music industry has always been complicated. On one hand, he's been the golden child, breaking records, topping charts, and redefining what it means to be a global superstar. On the other hand, behind the scenes, whispers of feuds with executives, legal disputes, and shady contracts have haunted him for over a decade. Insiders claim Drake has been privately battling record labels for years, constantly demanding more control, more ownership, and more freedom. And at the center of this storm, Universal Music Group UMG, one of the most powerful entities in the music industry. UMG has built and broken careers with the stroke of a pen. They've tolerated Drake's power plays, but the tension between the two sides has only grown more toxic with time. This latest courtroom showdown was triggered by a contract dispute so explosive that even insiders couldn't believe how messy it became. Drake allegedly accused UMG of exploiting his catalog, profiting from his name, and keeping him locked in golden handcuffs. In leaked text messages between Drake and a close confidant, he allegedly raged, "I built this empire. They're eating off my back while laughing at me." UMG, of course, had a different story. They painted Drake not as a victim, but as a manipulator. Someone who enjoyed the riches, the fame, the global platform the label provided, but suddenly wanted to rewrite the rules when it no longer suited him. And when lawyers got involved, the gloves came off. Now it's important to remember, this isn't Drake's first brush with legal drama. Years ago, he quietly settled disputes over sampling, royalties, and even publishing rights. But this case, this one, hit different. This was personal because for Drake, it wasn't just about money, it was about legacy. The OVO mogul wanted to prove he could stand on his own, that he didn't need UMG, that his brand was bigger than the machine. He wanted control of his masters, control of his deals, and control of his destiny. But UMG wasn't going to give up without a fight. And here's where the cracks began to show. Behind closed doors, insiders say Drake's legal strategy was arrogant, sloppy even. Instead of carefully maneuvering through the legal minefield, he tried to bulldoze his way through. With bravado, one insider who attended early hearings whispered, it was like he thought he was performing, not litigating. The courtroom isn't a stagehand. The judge wasn't impressed. Meanwhile, UMG came prepared. Their lawyers dug into every clause, every loophole, every technicality in Drake's contract. And what they uncovered was devastating evidence. that Drake may have knowingly breached terms he himself had signed years ago by the time the case reached its boiling point. The tension was unbearable. Fans on social media were already speculating, with hashtags like #Drake's UMG and #Courtroom Clash trending worldwide. Leaked court filings began circulating online, showing shocking demands from both sides. Drake wanted full independence. UMG wanted to make an example of him, and then it happened. The court date where everything unraveled, where Drake expected to flex his dominance, but instead, the judge stripped him bare with words so cutting that the entire courtroom gasped. And worse, UMG's counterattack was about to hit like a nuclear bomb. The stage was set for humiliation. The courtroom was packed. Reporters lined the benches, cameras flashed outside the doors, and whispers echoed like static electricity through the air. Everyone knew this wasn't just another contract hearing. This was a war for dominance. And Drake had walked in expecting to own the room. He entered with his legal team, dressed sharply, his signature confidence radiating. Fans outside chanted his name. For a moment, it felt like another concert entrance. But once the judge entered, that illusion shattered. From the very start, the judge's tone was ice cold. As Drake's lawyers laid out their case, arguing that UMG had trapped their client in a predatory contract, that they had siphoned millions from his work, the judge's expression never wavered. Then came the moment that silenced everyone. Leaning forward, the judge addressed Drake directly. "Mr. Graham, this courtroom is not an arena for ego. Your arguments sound less like a legal defense and more like a publicity stunt. If you think your fame exempts you from the contracts you willingly signed, you are gravely mistaken." The words landed like a sledgehammer. Gasps rippled across the room. One insider swore they saw Drake's smirk falter for the first time in years. But the humiliation didn't stop there. The judge continued, practically dismantling Drake's case piece by piece. He cited clauses in the contract that Drake himself had agreed to. He referenced prior settlements where similar arguments had failed. At one point, the judge even said, "You want independence, but you want it without responsibility. You claim exploitation, but the evidence shows benefit. What you call chains, others would call privileges." It was brutal, and the press wasted no time seizing on every word. Tweets exploded instantly. Judge cooked Drake live in court. #Drake vs UMG Drake. Thought he was untouchable. Reality check delivered. That's not courtroom energy. That's a roast session. But just when everyone thought the damage was done, my first shocking twist hit like a thunderclap. UMG's lawyers dropped a confidential document, a bombshell that nobody saw coming. It was a leaked financial audit showing that Drake had allegedly been funneling profits from side ventures, bypassing contract obligations, and potentially violating exclusivity clauses. This wasn't just a legal counterpunch. It was a public humiliation. The revelation painted Drake not as the victim, but as the aggressor. Someone exploiting loopholes while publicly crying foul. In one damning excerpt, the document accused him of secretly negotiating side deals in streaming and merchandise that cut UMG out entirely. The courtroom erupted. Drake's team scrambled, objecting, calling the documents misleading and taken out of context, but the damage was already done. The judge allowed it into the record, and reporters stormed outside to blast the news across every outlet. Fans who once defended Drake were suddenly divided. Was he a victim of corporate greed, or had he been playing both sides all along? And here's the twist that left even Drake's closest allies stunned. One of the leaked documents allegedly included a direct message exchange between Drake and another industry titan, hinting that Drake had already been plotting to jump ship to a rival label while still cashing UMG checks. That betrayal hit like dynamite. It wasn't just a contract fight anymore. It was a question of loyalty, integrity, and survival. The judge's scolding was humiliating enough. But with UMG's counterstrike, Drake wasn't just losing the courtroom, he was losing the narrative. And the worst part? The next twist was even bigger. Because if this leaked audit was real, it wasn't just Drake's reputation at risk. His entire empire vs. his partnerships. His legacy could be legally dismantled piece by piece. The stage was no longer a fight for freedom. It was a fight to save everything he had built. The courtroom bombshell didn't just end with whispers, it detonated into a full-blown cultural earthquake. Within minutes of UMG presenting the leaked audit, hashtags erupted across social media. #Drake exposed, #UMG fights back, #courtroom carnage. Twitter, TikTok, and Instagram were flooded with posts, memes, and conspiracy theories. Fans dissected screenshots of the leaked documents, zooming in on every signature, every clause, every supposed direct message. Some refused to believe it, insisting it was a corporate smear campaign. Others declared Drake had finally been caught red-handed. One viral tweet read, "Drake screaming 'Free me' while secretly stacking millions behind UMG's back is the craziest plot twist of the decade." Another was harsher. "This isn't an artist versus label story. This is a millionaire crying wolf while breaking the same rules he preaches against." The media frenzy turned savage. Headlines from fake inside sources splashed across entertainment outlets. Rolling Tone exclusive. Drake caught in secret label betrayal. Scandal hip-hop, uncensored, UMG lawyers leak explosive proof against Drake. The Beat Report. Drake's career hangs by a thread after courtroom humiliation. But then, just as the narrative seemed to cement against him, the shocking reveal surfaced: an anonymous insider leak. Supposedly from within UMG itself, hit Reddit and quickly spread to Twitter. The post alleged that the financial audit may not have been as legitimate as it seemed. According to this mysterious whistleblower, UMG had manufactured parts of the evidence, specifically the damning DM exchanges that implied Drake was plotting to jump to another label. Screenshots of the leak spread like wildfire. UMG faked receipts to corner Drake in court. They needed to crush him publicly before he could crush them privately. This revelation flipped the conversation overnight. Suddenly, fans weren't just questioning Drake, they were questioning UMG's integrity. Was the industry giant so desperate to control one artist that they'd fabricate evidence to bury him? The backlash grew louder. Drake's defenders argued he was being framed, comparing him to other artists who had battled their labels for freedom. Old interviews resurfaced, where he hinted at feeling trapped, calling the industry a machine that eats its own stars. Now, those words hit differently, and just when the situation couldn't feel more chaotic, another layer of betrayal surfaced. Screenshots leaked of private group chats, allegedly between top executives, mocking Drake's legal strategy. One message read, "By the time this is over, he'll wish he never left Degrassi." It was petty, cruel, and humiliating. The internet feasted on it. Rappers, producers, and celebrities began weighing in. 50 Cent posted a cryptic Instagram caption, "Told y'all labels don't love you. They just use you till you're empty." Meek Mill added fuel with a subtweet, "Crazy how karma spins the block." And shockingly, even Kendrick Lamar, Drake's longtime rival, broke his silence with a single tweet. "Guess the boy finally learning how this game really works." That line sent shockwaves. Was Kendrick siding with UMG, or just enjoying Drake's downfall? Either way, the storm was far from over. Because right as fans were choosing sides, the court announced something that nobody expected. A second round of hearings would open. This time not just against Drake, but against UMG itself. Yes, you heard that right. The same evidence meant to destroy Drake was now under investigation for fraud. If proven fake, UMG's credibility could collapse, dragging the entire label into the mud. The world was watching. Fans weren't just asking, "Is Drake guilty?" They were now asking, "How dirty is the music industry really?" And in that moment, one thing became clear. What started as a battle between a superstar and a label had just escalated into an all-out war for the soul of the industry. But what would happen next? The answer was even more shocking, and it divided fans, artists, and executives like never before. The courtroom chaos was one thing, but what came next was a cultural wildfire. Social media platforms turned into digital battlegrounds overnight. Twitter threads stretched thousands of comments deep. TikTok lives ran into the millions of views, and Instagram story rants from influencers lit up timelines like fireworks. Everyone from Drake stans to UMG defenders had picked a side, and neither camp was backing down. One viral fan video screamed, "Drake is fighting for every artist who's ever been trapped by a label." If UMG did this to him, imagine what they're doing to smaller artists with no voice. Another clip, just as viral, argued the opposite. "Y'all acting like Drake is a victim. He's been one of the most privileged artists in history. Now he finally faces accountability, and suddenly it's a conspiracy." Please. The divide was brutal. Hashtags told the story. Hashtag Free Drake versus hashtag UMG. Justice hashtag Scorpion Scandal versus hashtag Drake, the DECEIVER. But this wasn't just fans fighting in comment sections. The music industry itself fractured before everyone's eyes. Some rappers openly sided with Drake, framing him as a modern-day David, fighting a Goliath that had swallowed countless artists before him. J. Cole reposted an old interview where he said artists gotta own their masters. That's the only way to survive in this game. The timing, too perfect to be accidental. Other artists, however, leaned toward UMG, whispering about Drake's alleged arrogance and his God complex. In the industry, a producer who once worked with him anonymously told Rolling Stone, "Drake thought he was untouchable. This isn't oppression, it's ego getting checked." Meanwhile, fans outside courthouses began staging demonstrations. One group chanted justice for Drake, holding homemade signs of his album covers. Across the street, another group fired back with "Stop the Deception" placards, painting Drake as a fraud who manipulated the system for years. The tension wasn't just digital anymore, it was physical, visceral, undeniable. And then came the celebrity shockers. Rihanna posted a cryptic Instagram story. "Contracts are cages. Don't let them fool you." Fans instantly interpreted it as support for Drake. The Navy went to war with UMG's defenders. Even more explosive. A mysterious leaked audio recording, allegedly of a UMG executive, surfaced online. In it, a voice eerily similar to a senior exec could be heard saying, "If we bury him now, no other artist will dare challenge us." The recording went viral within minutes. Memes exploded. Conspiracy theories multiplied. Suddenly, this wasn't just a Drake versus UMG drama, it was a full-blown cultural revolution. Questioning the very foundation of the music business. Industry insiders warned of a potential collapse. One anonymous label manager told reporters, "If this evidence is proven fake, UMG could face lawsuits that rock the entire industry. This isn't just about Drake anymore. This could change how music contracts are written forever." The reaction was bigger, messier, and more divided than anyone imagined. And just when people thought it couldn't get crazier, the court dropped a devastating announcement that flipped everything upside down. The courtroom was already boiling with tension. The fans outside were screaming. Social media was drowning in hashtags and theories. But then, when the judge finally returned to the bench, everything stopped. What happened next wasn't just shocking. It was earth-shattering. The judge didn't just deliver a ruling. He pulled out sealed documents that had been hidden from the public for years. Documents that, according to insiders, contained proof that both Drake and UMG were lying. Yes, you heard that right? This wasn't the story of a victim and a villain. This was the story of two massive forces playing the public like pawns in a dangerous game of power. The courtroom gasped. Journalists scrambled. The tension was unbearable as the judge read a line from the file. Certain financial arrangements suggest complicity from both parties, including payments made to external third parties to conceal evidence. What did that mean? Were Drake and UMG secretly working together? Was this war just smoke and mirrors, a staged distraction, hiding a much bigger scandal? But before any answers could be given, the documents were suddenly sealed again. The judge slammed the gavel and declared, "This case is not over. New hearings will be scheduled. Until then, neither party is cleared." Chaos erupted instantly. Drake's lawyers shouted that this was a setup. UMG executives stormed out of the courtroom. Reporters screamed questions nobody would answer. The scene was pandemonium. And then came the bombshell. A mysterious figure was spotted in the courthouse corridors, covered by a hood, escorted by security. This person reportedly handed over additional evidence to the judge in private. Nobody knows who it was, but rumors spread like wildfire. Some say it was a former OVO insider. Others claim it was a rival. Rapper finally seeking revenge. Whatever the truth, one thing became clear. This drama wasn't about Drake alone. It wasn't even about UMG. It was about an entire hidden machine of corruption in the music industry. A machine finally being exposed. The cliffhanger hit when an emergency news alert blasted on phones. Worldwide, breaking, judge orders secret. Industry-wide investigation following Drake UMG trial. Yes, the entire music industry was now under the microscope. Contracts, deals, hidden payoffs, all of it was about to be dragged into the light. And here's the question that left fans in shock, trembling with anticipation. If Drake and UMG are both guilty of deception, who else is about to fall? The gavel may have silenced the courtroom for now, but the war had only just begun. The next hearing promised to be the most explosive yet, and the music industry might never recover. So now you've seen it. You've felt the chaos. You've witnessed the humiliation. The judge didn't just expose Drake. He didn't just drag UMG into the mud. He ripped the curtain off an entire industry, and we are only at the beginning. But here's the real question. Whose side are you on? Do you believe Drake is the victim here, targeted by a powerful corporation desperate to silence him? Or do you think UMG is the one fighting for justice, exposing a superstar who thought he was untouchable? Or maybe the most terrifying theory of Alice, this whole thing bigger than both of them. Could Drake and UMG actually be working together, staging this war to distract us while hiding something even darker, even darker? Drop your thoughts right now in the comments. I want to see the battlefield light up. Team Drake, Team UMG, or Team the industry is rotten. Let the world know where you stand. And don't forget, this is far from over. The judge has ordered a secret, industry-wide investigation. That means more leaks, more scandals, more powerful names about to be exposed. If you think this story was explosive, just wait until the next update drops. So here's what you need to do. Smash that like button if you think the truth is finally coming out. Hit subscribe and turn on notifications, because the next twist could drop at any moment, and trust me, you don't want to miss it. Share this with your friends, because the world needs to know how deep this rabbit hole goes. The war has started. The secrets are spilling. And the biggest bombshells are still to come.